The following is a special presentation of Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
February 18th, 2001.
Just be careful today.
His last kiss.
Dale Earnhardt fending off the challenge.
His last lap. His last crash.
Oh! Big trouble. Big wreck behind them.
We've lost Dale Earnhardt.
We lost Dale Earnhardt at the track that meant so much to him.
You don't want Dale Earnhardt behind you because you know it's not easy to keep him behind you.
It actually is enough to make a grown man cry.
God works in mysterious ways.
We know that risk level when we get in the car, but we're racing. There is a danger level.
This is an Eyewitness News special. Earnhardt pushing the limits. Here are Bob Opsahl and Gary Cole.
Good evening, everyone. We've just learned who is going to take Dale Earnhardt's ride on the Richard Childress racing team.
Talk about trying to replace a legend. 25-year-old Kevin Harvick will take over for the rest of the season. Harvick was the Busch Series Rookie of the Year last season. He raced in the Napa 300 on Saturday. Car number 2 finished second. The car he will drive for Childress will not be number 3 or have the silver and black paint scheme, which Earnhardt made famous. He will use a different number and different colors, but they have not yet been worked out. Harvick was scheduled to move up to Winston Cup and drive for Richard Childress Racing next season. Now, both Childress cars and the 3 cars Earnhardt owned will have big number 3 decals on them with the words "in memory of Dale Earnhardt."
Meanwhile, the tributes intensify tonight. Here's a live look right now at the Earnhardt tributes that were left at the Daytona International Speedway. Tonight, the fence is lined with flowers, cars, T-shirts, and other small tributes to number 3.
For the next hour, we're going to bring you new information on Earnhardt's deadly crash and take you to tributes all over the country.
Our coverage team has new details from Daytona Beach, from Atlanta, from Charlotte, from the Speedway in Rockingham for this weekend's race, from Earnhardt headquarters in Mooresville, and from his hometown, Kannapolis, North Carolina. There are other new developments tonight as well. Dale Earnhardt was buried today in a small service in Kannapolis. A larger memorial service is now just hours away in Charlotte, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. says he will race at Rockingham just days after that.
Tomorrow, Central Florida will hold a public memorial of its own at this church in Daytona Beach. The service starts at 1 o'clock at the Central Baptist Church at 125 Fairview Avenue in Daytona Beach. Again, you are invited. Tours of the nearby Daytona International Speedway have resumed, and tonight workers are preparing the track for upcoming motorcycle races. The track may be moving on, but crash investigators are still very much focused on finding out exactly what happened on Sunday and why.
Channel 9's Roger Losi is live at the Speedway now with more on what investigators are learning about this deadly wreck. Roger?
Well, Bob, as we all know right now, 2 cars crashed into the wall in the last lap of Sunday's race. Tonight, NASCAR investigators are trying to figure out why and what needs to be done so that it doesn't happen again. The car was traveling so fast, the collision so violent, that the Volusia County Medical Examiner says Dale Earnhardt died instantly. Our review of the autopsy report shows he suffered a broken left ankle, fractured sternum, and several broken ribs. But it was a massive head injury that killed racing's most popular driver. These pictures taken by investigators shortly after the crash show a crumpled front end, inside a bent and scuffed steering wheel. The medical examiner can't say for sure if that's what Earnhardt hit, but the impact cracked the base of his skull, the force so great his brainstem was crushed.
I don't know what's obvious at this point other than the fact that we've lost Dale Earnhardt.
NASCAR President Mike Helton says Earnhardt's car is being closely examined by the organization's crash investigators in Charlotte.
We have at our access in the garage area the greatest minds that exist. They're the ones who help us develop these parts and pieces.
He says they'll be looking at the steering wheel and everything else on the car for that matter, and how it reacted after it was bumped from behind. They'll also have to determine if Earnhardt was strapped in tight enough. The Daytona Beach Police Department is helping in the investigation, but on a very limited basis. The wreck's already been ruled an accident. However, detectives did take pictures of the car and talk to some of Earnhardt's crew. But the cops will let NASCAR make the final call on what went wrong.
What we're doing is we're awaiting word from the NASCAR officials as far as their inspection of the vehicle to see if we're needed to assist them in any way.
We look at everything.
Helton's team ultimately wants to know if there are some design changes that need to be made so crashes like the one that killed Dale Earnhardt don't happen again.
It's a major effort, but it deserves to be a major effort.
Now, NASCAR says it is pretty confident that even if Dale Earnhardt had been wearing that head and neck restraint device that is now available for drivers, they say he still probably would have been killed in this accident. Bob?
Roger, we know they're looking for clues, but do you know if is there any recording of the radio conversation between Earnhardt and the pit crew during the race that might provide further clues?
Probably would be very helpful. At this point, NASCAR and Earnhardt's team are being very tight-lipped about just exactly what type of evidence and what sort of things that they are looking for, but you can bet that if those conversations are recorded, that they certainly would be very helpful in trying to figure out why Earnhardt died in this crash. Bob?
All right. Thanks a lot, Roger. Well, tonight, Sterling Marlin goes into Rockingham with extra security because angry fans have sent him death threats online and on the phone.
You can see Marlin's car number 40 clip Earnhardt, who appeared to really get loose there and then hit the wall with that fatal crash. Marlin says he's gotten death threats by phone and email, so many that his website had to be shut down for a short time. He has also had armed guards now at his race shop.
Well, Dale Earnhardt fans are upset. I mean, they're looking for somebody to blame, and you know, I've had drivers call me, NASCAR's called, people from RCR, Childress Racing, Dale Earnhardt Racing, and told me just hold your head up, said you didn't do nothing wrong. So it was just a pure racing accident, and that's all it was. There's nothing I could do about it. I mean, I was as low as I could go, and you know, if Rusty took the air off of him, whatever, it made his car come back down and we touched, I don't know. But you know, it's definitely nothing intentional on my part.
Marlin says his family will take the unusual step now of staying in Tennessee rather than traveling to the race because of security concerns.
And Marlin isn't the only one dealing with threats. A woman who lives here in Central Florida says she's also been threatened. Nancy Minabu knew Dale Earnhardt and used to work for Sterling Marlin. She still travels to most of the races, and Minabu says her relationship with both men may have sparked a jealous call to her Merritt Island home early this morning.
People know around here that I work for Sterling, and I'm good friends with him, my husband and I, and said if we ever see you wearing a number 40 again, we'll run you off the road.
Well, despite the threats, Minabu and the rest of her family will head to Rockingham this weekend to support Sterling Marlin. Minabu says a few fellow drivers have shown their support for Marlin this week, including Earnhardt's own son, Dale Jr.
And as we mentioned at the top of the show, we are just hours away from a massive memorial at the largest church in Charlotte, North Carolina. Steve Litz from WSOC TV in Charlotte has the story.
Tonight, one of the area's grandest churches is getting ready to host a service for one of the area's greatest legends. Hundreds of flowers have been pouring into Calvary Church. They're from all over, San Diego, Iowa. Tomorrow's service is expected to attract more than 5,000 people. Pastor Wayne Detzler is one of the organizers.
We're pulling in staff from all over. We're pulling in staff from the Speedway here. We're pulling in staff from NASCAR, Winston Cup, and everyone to help us out.
And the person Pastor Detzler will be helping out is Dale Earnhardt's widow, Teresa.
And my main job is to try to put a structure around her that will provide for the highest comfort level for her.
The service is invitation only to include friends and relatives of the Earnhardt family and members of the NASCAR family. Religious leaders will focus on what happens inside, while police pay close attention to what's happening outside. Traffic. Lots of it, says police spokesman Keith Bridges.
I mean, you've got those roads that are busy anyway. You've got an anticipated 6,000 people possibly for the memorial service itself.
Dale. It was the great American race in which Dale Earnhardt lost his life. Tomorrow, thousands will say their final goodbyes to one of the greatest American racers.
And the Earnhardt Family Memorial Service is set for noon tomorrow at the largest church in Charlotte, Calvary Baptist Church. It's closed to the public but will be televised on cable.
Now, Dale Earnhardt leaves behind several close family members, including his wife, Teresa. Earnhardt's mother, Martha, is also grieving her son's loss. His father, Ralph, died in 1973. Dale Earnhardt is also survived by daughters, Kelly and Taylor, and by his son, Kerry, and his namesake, Dale Jr. Dale Jr.'s decision to race at Rockingham is the other big news tonight. That may be somewhat of a surprise, but the fact that there is racing at all is not a surprise.
No, that's what these guys do. If anything, it will help them get over the pain. Rockingham is located about 90 miles east of Charlotte up in the mountains. It's a 1-mile track. The race is 500 miles, and it makes for a long afternoon. Most drivers consider it to be one of the toughest, most grueling races of the year, and you know it's going to be a lot tougher this week.
Still ahead.
It sits on a driver's shoulders.
Would this device have made a difference? Could softer walls have saved Earnhardt's life? and later the Intimidator's image. Why what you saw on the track was not what you saw off the track. Earnhardt Pushing the Limits will return in a moment.
This is a live picture from Daytona International Speedway tonight at some of the tributes to Dale Earnhardt.
You're watching Earnhardt Pushing the Limit. I'm Gary Cole.
I'm Bob Opsahl. The drivers say they know the risks.
Sterling Marlin says Earnhardt even reminded him of that just a few months ago.
Maybe a month ago, they was out on the farm, and how it got brought up. And Dale said if I ever get killed in a race car, he said I don't want nobody crying, moaning, and groaning. And when he buckled that seatbelt Sunday, he knew anything could happen, and we do it every Sunday.
But those deaths have a lot of people questioning driver safety right now.
Channel 9's Rob Puri joins us live from Daytona International Speedway to explain the differences between the NASCAR safety and the safety in other racing sports.
That's right, Gary. While race fans here and around the world continue to mourn the loss of Dale Earnhardt, many of them wonder, is the sport that they love so much safe? And are NASCAR and Winston Cup doing all that they can do to keep their drivers alive? Scott Pruitt has seen and done both, driving and racing, open wheel, as well as Winston Cup. Does he think NASCAR does all it can safety-wise?
No, I don't. But I say that from the standpoint that I'm coming from a series where they're very educated, and we've had some ferocious crashes where you've had to be educated as a series.
NASCAR does not have specific formal safety committees, while domestic open-wheel circuits, CART, and the IRL do. They also have their own traveling safety teams for on-the-track emergencies. But Winston Cup leaves it up to each individual track to provide accident teams.
We need to learn from other sports. And you take Formula One. They send a driver, a safety committee person, somebody from the sanctioning body. They send 4 or 5 guys to a racetrack, and they look at the track. And they say, okay, we want a chicane here, we want a barrier here, we don't like the way the pit road entrance is, and we will not race here until you fix it. Done deal. It's fixed. We go somewhere and we complain a little bit, and they say, shut up and drive.
NASCAR does, however, have specific set requirements inside their race cars, like roof flaps, reinforced roll cages, and padded steel door bars that help drivers escape extremely ugly crashes, many times injury-free. But can they do more? And what makes these guys put the pedal to the metal on Sunday in spite of all the risks?
It's the grim reality. I mean, that's about all. I can't explain it. I'm a man of many words, and I can't explain it. I can't explain how I can see somebody get killed in a race car, and yet I can get back in a race car and go do what he was doing. I'm a family man. I got a wife, 2 kids. I'm 53 years old. I darn sure don't want to get killed in a race car. Yet I see it happen, and it could happen to me.
Waltrip did get out. He retired at the end of last season just in time to crawl into the broadcast booth and call his brother Michael's first ever Winston Cup win here Sunday at the Daytona 500, driving a car owned by Dale Earnhardt. Unfortunately, he also watched one of his best friends die on that day.
All right, thank you, Rob. Of course, the safety device getting the most attention right now is called HANS, for head and neck support. Most drivers are not wearing it, but this week at least 40 drivers have placed orders.
And another device that's not used much is a softer wall around the tracks.
Tonight, Channel 9's Ross Cavett shows us how they work by talking with the men who invented them and got them patented.
It sits on a driver's shoulders in same relative position as you can see here.
Race car driver Jim Downing helped design the head and neck support device more than a decade ago. They're made at his small warehouse in Chamblee. Several major car companies have tested the HANS device and found they do a good job to protect drivers from potentially fatal head injuries.
The straps keep your head close to your body. In a nutshell, that's what you're doing. It takes the load off the neck, and thereby hopefully increasing your chances of not being hurt.
But the HANS has been slow to catch on in Winston Cup. Drivers worry it makes getting out of the car too difficult. A Conyers company has another idea, lining the hard concrete walls at a racetrack with a foam compound surrounded by plastic. It's been tested and is in use at the speedway near Charlotte. It's been patented by Earnhardt fan John Johnson.
You don't know that our product would have done anything different. I'm not
going to stand here and tell you that it would have saved his life, because I don't know that. The Almighty knows. But would it have made a difference on the force of impact? I think so.
And that's all the safety innovators are asking for, a chance to prove their product. But drivers are tough to change. For instance, Dale Earnhardt had a chance to use the Hans device, but didn't.
The Chevrolet folks have spent time with him, but he pretty much just dismissed it, wasn't interested.
Ross Cavett, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
In fact, Dale's exact words were he said it was for sissies. Some major racing organizations, though, have made using the Hans system mandatory.
But so far, NASCAR has not made it a rule.
Next, Earnhardt's life and his wins, and why he acted so differently in front of fans than in front of friends. Earnhardt Pushing the Limits will return in a moment. This is an Eyewitness News special. Earnhardt Pushing the Limits. Here are Bob Opsahl and Gary Cole.
And you are looking at a live picture of the Calvary Church in Charlotte. That is where the service will be held tomorrow. Now, there was never any doubt in Dale Earnhardt's mind about what he wanted to do in life.
And his passion for racing took him to victory lane again and again. He was born into a stock car racing family in 1951. Dale Earnhardt's father, Ralph, was NASCAR champion in 1956. For Dale, racing wasn't a way of life. It was life.
That's all I ever knew. I never did play ball. I never did do anything much in school other than hurried and got home and seen what was going on with the race cars. And
the greatest NASCAR driver ever started on the Winston Cup circuit in 1979. He was aggressive and intimidating. He went on to win a record 7 Winston Cup championships. He was the 5-time NMPA Driver of the Year, the only 3-time winner of the Winston, the only 6-time Busch Clash winner, and a 3-time IROC champion. But without a doubt, the highlight of his career happened in 1998 when he finally won the Daytona 500.
That's 20 years of hard work and a lot of friends along the way. It really helped me. I can't thank everybody enough. It feels so great to be in victory lane. Richard Childress and all the guys, they're crying and they're carrying on. They're having a great time. This is where it's at. Been here a lot. This is the greatest time I've ever had in victory lane right here. This is it.
And he would have been in victory lane again this year, of course, with his own car.
And you know a man is big when he has multiple nicknames. He was the man in black. He was called one tough customer. His critics, the fans that didn't like him, called him Ironhead. But the ultimate nickname, the Intimidator. And as many an opposing driver would be known to say, the last thing they wanted to see is Dale Earnhardt in their rear view mirror. He was the ultimate Intimidator. They didn't call him the Intimidator for nothing. No driver was more feared or fearless than the man in black. The Sports Rookie of the Year in 1979, Dale Earnhardt followed that by winning the Winston Cup Championship in 1980. And if it meant ruffling a few feathers along the way, so be it. Even if those feathers included those of the king, Richard Petty.
Very, very crude, like a diamond in the rough. It's one of those deals where you see some of them coming and you say, if he makes it, he's going to be okay, but if he keeps driving like this, he ain't going to make it.
I got into Richard at Martinsville. I remember one race that I got into the side of Richard going in one, but I did it from about 10 cars back from where I started, and I passed like 5 or 6 cars getting in the corner to get to Richard Petty. And I didn't do it to get to Richard Petty, but just Richard was in the way when I got there.
He tolerated it. The owners tolerated the wrecks and all that stuff, and some of the drivers tolerated some of the stuff that he did at that time, and it all worked out.
I was listening when they were scolding me. Richard Petty, too, when he was scolding me about driving over the curb into the side of his race car.
He listened and he learned, not only the racing side, but the business side. Dale Earnhardt would go on to license his name and parlay that tough guy image into a multi-million-dollar corporation. Around the track, that image was always apparent. Even in Sunday's race, when a rookie tried to get by him, Earnhardt let him know about it like only Earnhardt could.
There it is. Kurt, you're number 1.
But away from the track, Dale Earnhardt was known to be anything but intimidating.
When I won the championship in 1999, and this is just Dale and Teresa Earnhardt at their very best, but I had a large group of people, family and friends, that we wanted to take to New York to enjoy our celebration, and I asked Dale to use a plane that he has that holds over 30 people, and I told him to send me a bill on it. And when Kelly and I got the bill after we got back from New York City, the bill said, no charge, congratulations from Dale and Teresa. And that's the kind of person that Dale Earnhardt was, and so many should know. Their hero was a terrific person besides being a great race driver.
Just ahead, will NASCAR retire number 3, and will it place Earnhardt in the Hall of Fame? Plus, we'll take you to the small town where Earnhardt grew up, and how you can get a chance to say goodbye to Dale Earnhardt right here in Central Florida. Earnhardt Pushing the Limits. We'll be right back. This is an Eyewitness News special. Earnhardt Pushing the Limits. Here are Bob Opsahl and Gary Cole.
This is a live picture right now from the Daytona International Speedway, a cross with the number 3 on it, lots of flowers from mourning fans in the memory of Dale Earnhardt. Now, after a driver retires or dies, it usually takes a while before he can get elected to racing's Hall of Fame.
And that's also going to be the case with Dale Earnhardt. We've learned that it'll be the standard 5-year wait before the Intimidator will be inducted into the Racing Hall of Fame. Kind of a surprise, since many call Earnhardt the greatest driver ever, period, in any type of racing. Will the number 3 be retired is also a question that still has not yet been answered. Now, Dale Earnhardt was a hero to millions of racing fans.
So imagine how folks in his hometown of Kannapolis, North Carolina felt about him. Reporter Amanda Nissen brings us the story of the people who grew up in the place the Intimidator called home.
All over Dale Earnhardt's hometown, tribute after tribute to the man they call the best, a legend.
It's like, it's not real yet. I guess it'll take some time for people to, I don't know.
Glenn Lewis came by to visit the house where Dale Earnhardt grew up. He's not alone. Others pass by and snap pictures. Earnhardt's mother still lives here. The shop where he started his career is still behind the house. Earnhardt's sister came out to tell us their mother is in seclusion and is only receiving family and close friends. Just down the street, it may have been this sign outside the Varsity restaurant that brought Rebecca Bird and her family inside.
I feel for the family.
They've spent the day driving around their hero's hometown. Words for them don't come easy.
The race is not going to be the same.
She may be speaking for fans everywhere, but here in Kannapolis, the pain perhaps runs especially deep.
I didn't know Dale personally, but he's been a part of my whole family in this area. It's just Dale.
In Kannapolis, North Carolina, Amanda Nissen, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
And as you can imagine, the folks in Kannapolis have never seen this many people go through a town.
Oh, that's for sure. In fact, there are so many mourners, tourists, and media there right now, they are literally taking over the town. We'll show you how that one small town is trying to handle way too many people coming up on Eyewitness News at 11.
Still ahead, NASCAR has changed the rules to make the racing more exciting. But do higher ratings come at the cost of driver safety? Next, we take you live to Daytona Beach, where you will get your chance to gather for an Earnhardt Memorial. Earnhardt Pushing the Limits will return in a moment. This is an Eyewitness News special. Earnhardt Pushing the Limits. Here are Bob Opsahl and Gary Cole.
And if you're just joining us, there are some big developments tonight in the wake of the Dale Earnhardt crash.
Earnhardt was buried today in his hometown of Kannapolis, North Carolina. It was a small family service. The Richard Childress Racing Team has reportedly named Busch Grand National driver Kevin Harvick to take Earnhardt's place in the team, and he will be driving Sunday in Rockingham, but it will not be with the number 3 car. And Charlotte's largest church is preparing for a larger memorial service tomorrow.
But if you can't make it to Charlotte, you can pay your respects right here in Central Florida.
Channel 9's Roger Losey is live at Daytona International Speedway with new information on a local memorial service. Roger.
Yeah, but Gary, you know, a lot of people are coming out here to the track actually to pay their tributes. There is a local memorial service that we'll tell you about in just a minute. But first, we want to show you that some of the things that race fans have been leaving out here. Take a look. There's all kinds of flowers and hats. Here's one right here with the number 3 on it. Somebody wrote, "My hero forever," talking about Dale Earnhardt. As we said, lots of flowers and T-shirts. Here's a poster right here that a bunch of people signed actually with the black cross and the number 3. And there's all kinds of other pictures and little messages and cards. Take a look. Here's a card right here to the Earnhardt family. All of this a remarkable tribute to a man who was no doubt racing's most popular driver. The roar of race cars has been replaced by a silent sadness at Daytona. Kathy Morey brought her grandson to Daytona, USA so he could say his goodbye to Dale Earnhardt.
Because he won lots of championships and
everybody liked him, and I just liked him.
For 3 days, a steady stream of fans have been paying tribute to one of Daytona's most successful drivers. Most of them are still shocked he's gone.
It was a wreck that you would think he would have walked away from it. He had done before, but it didn't happen, and I just wanted to be able to come out and say goodbye.
Track officials say they're going to send all of this stuff to the Earnhardt family in North Carolina, just part of a national show of support.
This is going on at a lot of tracks around the country right now, so once that's done, then we'll pack it up and make it get up to the family.
I don't know when I'll get over this.
Some say NASCAR racing will never be the same. To be sure, it will be a long time before the birthplace of speed is through mourning the death of a speed legend.
We loved him. We still love him. We'll always love him.
And here are the details on that memorial service tomorrow. It will be here in Daytona Beach at the Central Baptist Church, 125 Fairview Avenue. It starts at 1 o'clock, and the public is invited to attend. Gary and Bob, back to you.
Thanks, Roger. You know, the what-if game continues to be played by fans and drivers after the death of Dale Earnhardt.
And one of the biggest questions being asked is, did recent rule changes lead to the crash? Well, the definitive answer may never be known. But as Channel 9's Greg Warmoth reports, keeping the race close was NASCAR's goal this year.
A metal strip across the top, a larger spoiler on the back, and a restrictor plate on the engine. NASCAR wanted closer racing for the fans after what was called a boring Daytona 500 last year.
We were able to have a smooth run and have a nice Daytona 500 last year, but the fans didn't like it, so the rules got changed for the fans.
Wallace made those comments before the Daytona 500.
Because this can lead to a little danger, I think, but hey, that's what we get paid the big bucks to do this stuff for.
A prophetic comment from Wallace. He was in the pack, driving car number 2 on that fateful final lap of the 500.
As you go head on.
Did those rule changes lead to Earnhardt's death?
I personally don't think that had anything to do with his accident, other than the fact that they were a number of cars running close together at the end of the race. And of course, certainly that's what NASCAR has strived for.
Jarrett, though, does believe the bunching of the field did result in this wild crash Sunday.
Stewart got into Stewart.
Getting in the front, staying in the front, obviously is very difficult. It's a new rule, so it's exciting racing. It's exciting from inside the car, but it's a little nerve-wracking every now and then too, because it's like going through a toll booth and the guy in front of you every now and then doesn't have the correct change.
Paying the price potentially with a deadly crash. According to at least one local fan, though, it's not worth the extra excitement the new rule changes bring.
We're wanting to make it more exciting for the fans, which it's exciting enough. Come on, you know, we need to think about safety in the drivers.
Earnhardt is not the only recent death.
We've lost a couple of the really good drivers. Adam Petty is no longer with us. Kenny Irwin is no longer with us. And now we lost the legend, Dale Earnhardt.
NASCAR is quick to point to their long-term safety record. This fan hopes that they will be safe and soon.
The aerodynamics that they've changed, I think that's a little too much.
And this is a good example of it.
And this is a very good example of it. We don't need to lose any more of our drivers and our friends.
Greg Warmoth, Channel 9, Eyewitness News.
Now, last year's Daytona 500 had only 10 lead changes. This year, there were 10 in the first 30 laps, and a total of 49 lead changes among the 14 drivers.
And finding that balance between close racing and safer racing now seems to be NASCAR's biggest challenge.
Dale Earnhardt's career spanned parts of 3 decades. We have an incredible story tonight from sportscaster and Earnhardt friend Harold Johnson of our sister station WSOC-TV in Charlotte.
Now, some of the videotapes in this story are 20 years old, so bear with us. But while the tapes have shown their wear, the stories have not.
NASCAR lost more than a 7-time champion on Sunday. It lost part of its identity and personality. Those of us that knew this man know that for sure. Dale hit the NASCAR circuit big time in 1979. Boy, he came on like gangbusters, too. This is Dale in 1980, winning his first ever race in Charlotte, then Charlotte Motor Speedway. He was a happy guy.
There's no better place to win at home. But it was a great day, you know. Everybody, it wasn't weather-wise, but it was racing-wise. They always have a good show here at Charlotte, and it was, you know, had all the hometown people and fans here.
The day after, we had to talk to a very tired Dale Earnhardt. I had one of my many conversations with him about his first win right in his backyard at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
I'm just enjoying it. I'm making new friends and seeing new friends and all my old ones, and it's good to win at Charlotte because all my old friends and new friends were there.
If you looked up the word passion in a dictionary, you'd see a picture of Dale Earnhardt. Believe me, you really would. You know that's how much he loved the sport. And it rubbed off on his son, Dale Jr. This is the family at their home on Lake Norman in 1984, and look at little E. You knew then he was going to be a talented young man.
I like racing because it looks easy when my dad's running, but he learns a lot more how to drive than I do.
Who knew then that that little guy would have a great future ahead? Let's talk about Dad once again. Remember, the Intimidator, the nickname. How'd he get that nickname? Well, after literally blasting the competition away, it was Dale, it was his racetrack. If you got in his way, you were gone. In 1989 at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the 600, Earnhardt sent Jeff Bodine spinning, and NASCAR is going to send him spinning. They put him in the pits for 5 laps.
I feel like it was unjust as far as the 5-lap penalty. That was more than they've ever penalized anybody else lap-wise, but I think if they'll look at the tapes, they'll see I didn't try to wreck him. I didn't take him into the wall or anything. I was just trying to get in the corner with him. Morgan was on the inside, and Bodine came down and wrecked us again.
When I think of Dale Earnhardt and the way he would drive the race car, I think of him as a wild stallion at times. Sometimes he didn't know where he was going, but you know what? He usually got there first. He would go on to enjoy tremendous Winston Cup success.
As Earnhardt has won it here at Atlanta.
But wait a minute now. Look around the corner. Look over your shoulder, Dale, because here comes a newcomer by the name of Jeff Gordon. Flashy, handsome-looking guy, clean cut. Whoa, he would push the Intimidator off the spotlight to the back burner during the mid-90s, and some would say, hey, Dale, it's over. That just pumped up the competitive juices for the Intimidator. In 1998, he won the crown. The 45-year-old legend silenced the critics by winning his first Daytona 500 in his 20th try.
Name's going on the trophy. That's where we've been working hard to get the 20 years we've come down here. What a lot of races. This is that trophy right there. My name's on it now. They can't take it off.
This is Harold Johnson, Channel 9 Sports.
I tell you, Bob, I worked with Harold for 15 years in Charlotte. We've done a lot of stuff with Dale Earnhardt, and I'll tell you in a few minutes, we'll go live to Harold and hear some more of those stories. He has some great stuff to say about the Intimidator.
That should be good.
Still ahead, the inside story behind the scripture Waldrop's wife left with Earnhardt just before he strapped in. Next, what happens to a $42 million empire after its leader is lost? Earnhardt pushing the limits will return in a moment. This is an Eyewitness News special. Earnhardt pushing the limits. Here are Bob Opsahl and Gary Cole.
And you're looking now at another live picture from the Daytona International Speedway. Another note left from a mourning fan who misses Dale Earnhardt. We are just a few hours away now from a massive memorial for Dale Earnhardt.
Hundreds of people are expected to pack Charlotte's biggest church. Channel 9 Steve Litz joins us live from Charlotte with the latest on this special tribute. Steve.
Yeah, and preparations continue here at Calvary Church. And if you saw my report in this hour-long special, about 15 or 20 minutes ago, then you saw what the outside of this church looks like. It's massive. Now let's go inside. You'll see what's going on inside the chapel. Hundreds of bouquets of flowers have shown up here this evening, all of this for tomorrow, as thousands of people actually get ready to say so long to Dale Earnhardt Sr. Some of those flowers you're seeing there, well, they're coming from as far away as California and Iowa. Police are expecting somewhere around 5,000 people here. I believe capacity inside is about 5,200. And organizers here do expect every single one of those seats to be filled up. There are going to be 30 police officers out here. They will be taking care of traffic just off the property, while they will have several other officers on property here working security. So no doubt about it, this is going to be a massive celebration of life for one massive public figure. We're live in Charlotte tonight. I'm Steve Litch, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Hey, Steve, I know they say it's not really open to the public. Are they expecting, though, just a complete onslaught of fans to try to get as close to this thing as possible?
They are expecting that. In fact, when we talked to police earlier today, they told us just that. So, of course, they put their appeal out saying, going out of their way to say, hey, this is an invitation-only function, and those of you who do not have invitations, well, please don't show up. And the simple reason is there's just not enough room out here.
I believe it. Thanks a lot, Steve. Now, Dale Earnhardt was a one-man advertising empire.
Channel 9's Michelle Kaczynski shows us how many of his sponsors who make money off the Earnhardt empire are trying to figure out what to do next.
You might call it a pilgrimage, not to Dale Earnhardt's home or business, but Bass Pro Shop.
We were one of his sponsors, and he did a lot of television and print marketing for us, so it's a major void.
He is everywhere, on merchandise, on the walls, the Coke machine outside, gazing from windows in the towns that love him best. So what now?
They were going to raffle off a chance to meet Dale and spend a day with him in the pits at Atlanta. Obviously, that's been put on hold.
And Tim Bloodworth says 100,000 spring circulars will have to be changed by hand. As for TV and other ads,
it would be how topical the ads were, how specific they were to an event.
It's the same uncertainty for Earnhardt's baseball team that he was so looking forward to, renamed the Intimidators.
We have not focused on anything in the future. We've just been focusing on today.
Elsewhere, businesses are feeling the loss in empty shelves.
Anything that had the number 3 on it,
Well,
it's gone. Yeah, it's gone.
And at Ed Yancey's place, new limits on how much you can buy.
It's real easy to spot the vultures.
And more questions, when or if it will be replaced, what will bear his image? Although there is no question here, Dale Earnhardt's legacy will last forever.
Still ahead, Dale Earnhardt then and now. Earnhardt Pushing the Limits will return after this.
For their first ever win. And how many laps you got to go? Man, we're down to 9 to go. 8 when they come back. 8 to come.
Welcome back to Earnhardt Pushing the Limits. Now, not only did Dale Earnhardt take great pride in intimidating the opposition, he liked to intimidate the media just as much.
But I'll tell you what, there was one guy he could not intimidate. My friend Harold Johnson, sports director at Channel 9 in Charlotte, who I worked with for 15 years. Harold joins us live. And how many times in that sports office, Harold, did Dale call you up after a story trying to blast you?
Hey, you said he couldn't intimidate me. Yes, he could. He could intimidate anybody, Gary and Bob, and that is for sure. And Gary, you know it. Many times we would do a story about Dale, aggressive Dale that we like to call him, and he'd be blasting guys off the track, and I would kiddingly say, there's my buddy Dale Earnhardt. He's my favorite driver, but look at him out here on the track doing this and doing that. And invariably, it wouldn't be long after the show was over, the phone would ring, I'd pick it up, typical Earnhardt style. I would say, Harold Johnson, this is Earnhardt. What are you saying that about me? Why are you saying that about me? I thought you were my buddy. Well, Dale, you're doing this and you're doing that. Hey, look at the tape. If they can't drive, get them off the track, and I'm trying to help them off the track. And so that was it. And he'd talk, and I'd say, well, Dale, it's okay, Dale. And he'd say, see you later, bang, Gare. And you heard it. He'd hang up the phone, and that'd be it till the next incident. But he was a most unique. I knew him for 25 years. He was a most unique individual. He was a guy that strived for excellence on the racetrack, Gary, as you well know, because you did some stories with him too. And regardless of the situation, Earnhardt was Earnhardt, and guys around him on the racetrack respected that. You always knew where he was on the racetrack, and if you didn't know, you better be finding out, because chances are he's either going to blow by you or blow you off the track.
And the key was this guy's toughness. We have video of that wreck in Talladega, 1996, and you talk about a scary wreck where everybody just kind of held their breath. He went flipping upside down 3 or 4 times. Top of his car was practically cut off. And then he comes out of his car after about 10 minutes of silence. He had a broken collarbone, went on to race 2 weeks later against his doctor's wishes, and still got the pole at Watkins Glen. The thing with this guy is he seemed to be invincible.
He's sure, absolutely right, Gary. And that's the thing about the cars that are rolling. We saw Tony Stewart last Sunday. The drivers will tell you, as long as the car is rolling, they're comfortable. They're okay. It's when the rolling stops very quickly, obviously hitting something, that it stops. But Earnhardt, it's interesting, you're right. I interviewed him in a hospital. He had to have knee surgery years ago. And I said, hey, you can't drive with that. He said, hey, I don't put my knees on the steering wheel. I can handle it, just like with the collarbone, too. I don't drive with the collarbone. I drive with my hands. That's just the way he was. You didn't keep him out of the race car.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Harold. We could reminisce about the Big E all day, and you have to get back to work. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, guys.
Still ahead, a race day tradition takes on new meaning for those closest to Dale Earnhardt. That special message and how other racers are reacting to it when Earnhardt Pushing the Limits returns. This is an Eyewitness News special, Earnhardt Pushing the Limits. Here are Bob Opsahl and Gary Cole.
The drivers and their families, they know this is a dangerous sport.
Yeah, but that doesn't make losing somebody any easier to handle. Channel 9's Rob Peary joins us now live from the Speedway to talk about what gets the NASCAR families through these tough times. Rob?
Well, Bob, even the most diehard NASCAR fans often wonder how these drivers can witness these terrible crashes and still crawl back in that race car and get behind that wheel and go at it again. Well, the fans know that these drivers love what they do, and they rely on 4 things: family, friends, fans, but most importantly, their faith. A simple gesture that meant so much to Dale Earnhardt.
She put scripture in his car. She would find a Bible verse. She'd been doing that for me for years. And Dale saw her doing it some years ago, giving me a piece of scripture to put on my dash, and he asked, "Stevie, what are you doing?" And she said, "I'm giving this to Darrell. It's his verse for the day." And it would always be something that was sort of pertained to what might be going on in our situation. He said, "Would you do one for me?"
Just minutes before the start of the Daytona 500, Dale read the note from Stevie, gave her a hug, then kissed his wife Teresa for the last time. No one could have imagined what that verse would mean by the end of the race.
Proverbs 18. A strong man will run to the Lord, and he will find safety, and he will cling to it. And that's Dale's scripture Sunday.
But losing a friend, a partner, and a hero is still so painful. The people closest to the Earnhardt family believe those words and faith will help them through this difficult time.
And I just couldn't wait until I got that big grab on the neck and a big hug. I just knew any minute Dale was going to run in victory lane and say, "That's what I'm talking about right there." But that wasn't to be. My belief is that in the twinkle of an eye, you're in the presence of the Lord. And that's where I think Dale is. And so instead of patting me on the back and having a party with me, he's up there hanging out with my dad. So that ain't a bad thing either.
God works in mysterious ways. We don't know what he has in store or when he has it in store. So that's why we need to be prepared, first of all, so that when that time comes, that we'll be ready. And I think Dale Earnhardt was. And the fact that maybe it's a way that he could glorify God by it happening here at the Daytona International Speedway, as opposed to somewhere else that maybe didn't mean as much to him.
I think Ned Jarrett makes a very valuable point there, that this was Dale's place. Now, you have to remember that this sport gets its roots in the Bible Belt of North Carolina. This is a very down-home, tight-knit religious group of family, friends, and fans, and they will rely on that faith to pull them through this terrible tragedy.
All right, nice work. Thank you, Rob.
Still ahead, Dale Earnhardt in his own words.
We know that risk level when we get in the car.
This is an Eyewitness News special. Earnhardt pushing the limits. Here are Bob Opsahl and Gary Cole.
Now, if you don't have any personal memories of Dale Earnhardt, we hope our program tonight has helped you remember some of the good times he brought you on the racetrack.
And the sport will go on like it always does, but without number 3, without that smile, that mustache, that intimidating presence, it's going to be tough, and it'll be a while before NASCAR recovers from this.
It sure will. Now, for more information on Dale Earnhardt and his career, you can log on to our website.
You can see tributes from fans and photos of Earnhardt, plus information on where to send donations and links to other fan sites. It's all on InsideCentralFlorida.com.
And here's a final look at the tributes that you and your neighbors have left at Daytona International Speedway late tonight. And final words from the Intimidator himself.
The safety side of it, guys, we're racing. And, you know, you got to have something to protect the fans, and that's a cement wall and a fence. And we're the guys on the other side of it. We got very safe race cars, and we know that risk level when we get in the car. I'll use the best safety equipment I possibly can. We know the risk, but we're racing it.
From